The Drum Candy Podcast is brought to you by Drum Factory Direct.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into episode 47 of the Drum Candy Podcast. This is your host, Mike Dawson, coming to you from Drum Factory Direct in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This week's guest is my good friend, Steve Bidwell. Steve is in the band Black Pumas, which has been blowing up around the world. They've been selling out tours all around the world in the U.S. They've been playing every award show and every TV show imaginable. They're Grammy nominated. They played Joe Biden's inauguration. They sold out Stubbs down in Austin for 4 days in a row, which has never been done before. The mayor of Austin even proclaimed May 7th as Black Pumas Day. So it's been their first album only came out in 2019, so it's been a 3-year just crazy ride. So this conversation focus a little bit on, dealing with life on the road and how the music has changed and evolved over time. Just his gear maintenance and dealing with one-offs and what's it like to play on an award show. Steve is a good friend of mine. We've known each other since college, so it's great to catch up with him. Hopefully you glean some things to take to your gigs from this conversation. He's also a great wealth of knowledge on just music in general. So check it out. Here we go. Steve Bidwell. Well, tell me what you're doing in Nashville.
We are here making an appearance on the CMT Awards tonight. It's kind of, in a couple weeks, we're taping Crossroads, and that's where they bring together two artists that maybe don't have a lot in common. So we're going to do an episode with Mickey Guyton, and she's a young female country star. I have no idea how that connection was made, but whatever keeps the TV checks coming in should be cool.
What are you playing on the CMT Awards? Seems kind of a strange pairing.
It is a strange pairing, but we're playing our song Colors, but Mickey is singing she's sharing the verses with Eric, so I guess she was really into the band and really into the song and wanted to team up with us. It's kind of crazy. There's pyro involved. We've never had pyro. You'll push this out after the fact, so I can say that I'm not giving anything away.
Man, you got to tell me how this stuff works, like these award shows and stuff. Do you get a chance to rehearse, or is it just a line check? How does it come together?
This seems to be more rehearsal than others. Like they flew us in Saturday. We rehearsed the song. That was like a run through, probably 4 or 5 times. And that meant we were off here yesterday. And then today there will be a dress rehearsal and then the actual show. So that seems like even more prep than we had at the Grammys. That was not this past year, but the year before. Like with the Grammys, it was weird because it was the first bad COVID year where they couldn't really have an audience, but they had the ceremony anyway. So that was like 4 bands in the round. And I remember, I don't want to give away all the TV magic, but like we watched Harry Styles do his song 3 times, and then Billie Eilish did her song 3 times, and then the Haim sisters did their song 3 times, and then they watched us, or they watched a video of us, or I don't know. Everybody left, and then we did our song 3 times. So we got to sit through them, but they didn't have to sit through us. I'm not grumbling. It was just odd. I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. Kind of different.
Do you have to play to a click or something when you're doing TV?
Only if they ask for it. I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. None of the ones we've done so far. And this band is like, we don't have tracks, so we really don't play to a click most of the time. Although that live album that got us the Grammy nominations, that was all to a click, and it was decided very last minute to do so, like 10 minutes before downbeat.
Oh, shoot.
Somebody said, Yeah, and I don't think we had not gotten like proper in-ears yet, but I just happened to have my generic Shure whatever they had bought me. Um, and the singer was really into making films at the time, so he wanted it like to be synced up right. So that whole record, it was kind of weird because it was in Capitol Studio A, which is, there's just a bit of history there. And the guy says, I'm going to, like, I plug in, and the guy says, I'm going to pull up some levels for you. Just let me know if you need anything. And all I heard was like this beautiful bass drum sound, the decay of that room. And I was like, I don't need anything. Beautiful. This is like all those expensive preamps and everything. I was like, this is amazing. I have the best mix I've ever had. What the? Anyway, kind of bizarre.
That's kind of crazy. I mean, I imagine the songs had their own ebb and flow before that. So what did you notice as you were tracking? Like, oh shoot, this is feels way faster than normal or something?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the songs do stay pretty steady, but I know like the one that got nominated for Best Rock Performance, that one breathes a bit. Like if I were going to program a click for it, I would like probably jump 1 BPM on the choruses and then back down for the verses. But then when you get to like the outro, it would probably go up 3 or 4 clicks by the end of it,
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't there. Like there's just, live energy to all of it. So it's kind of weird to program that anyway. Like it's different every night. Like we don't have tracks, so we're kind of like bar band style. Like we even took forever to switch to in-ears, which has been a godsend most nights.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Were you just using Wedges before?
We did use Wedges for a long time, but I mean, as the stages get bigger and you really start to discern that you need and want to hear everything very well. I mean, like, I feel like 2 years on the road, we were like, no, we'll just stay with Wedges. And then somebody got them and was like, oh, I can really hear everything now. And if our main monitor engineer he'll throw a bunch of compression on my stuff so I can kind of play against the compressors like I would in the studio. So it's pretty awesome.
Where's your gear? Like for this show, is it your gear or is it all rental gear?
This is a rental. Like we have a locker in Austin. There's been talk of just keeping a set in Nashville of everything. So, I mean, I have that one road kit and that I don't have to worry about the logistics of any of this. It's just, it gets there. And then I'm with Gretsch, so I'm usually taken care of quite well with backline when I get there. Sometimes there'll be, because, DW is the parent company now. That was the dangest thing in South America. 2 nights in a row, I had like a DW Bell Brass. Like, I'd never tried those out, and I was like, gonna have to take a picture and ask him for the price on this 6.5. This is pretty baller. This is pretty amazing touch. So, I mean, I like the variety. I'm sure my front of house guy would prefer I at least traveled with a snare, but like I'm still accumulating enough Gretsch drums to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but usually I just travel with cymbals.
Do you get any time on the kit before? We're talking these random one-off appearances. Do you get any time on the kit beforehand?
Just briefly, and you kind of hope it all works out. So like on my writer, I have all pretty lightweight, if not flat bass hardware, just so I'm used to the footprint that you're working with when you set up with those. So like all the super engineered double braced stuff, sort of, that's like the number one. I fight that more than I fight tuning, honestly. Like if you put even the student level Gretsch kit in front of me, I'll be able to get a good sound out of all of it in a couple minutes, unless the heads are totally destroyed. But that's the weirdest thing, that I fight with the hardware more than I fight with the actual drums. But and even like we travel with a backline tech a lot of the time, and I think one of his other main gigs is working with a pretty big like California punk band. So like oftentimes I think he'll just spend more times on the guitars, and I'll come in and I'll have this total pop punk setup, and I'm like, I don't, buddy, I don't set up like this. Come on.
Like everything flat.
Yeah, like a flat rack tom, and I'm like, I'm coming from Jazztown, buddy. Let me start it. That's what I end up doing more than anything. But if you put me in front of even the most, if you could put me in a Gretsch Energy kit, and I would figure out the sound in a couple minutes. But
what are your tweaks that you're most often doing?
As far as tuning or
tuning or whatever you're dampening, whatever you're doing to get it to the vibe.
I became addicted to those Roots EQ rings of various thicknesses. They got the new lighter weight ones. I like one of those on the main snare, and usually the thicker one or the bandana on the aux snare. I mean, I think with the bass drum, like, as long as I get, usually if they have one of those DW pillows and it's hitting both sides of the head, that's about enough muting for me. And then on snares and kicks too, I think I read this from a Dave Maddox interview. You should interview him, by the way. He's awesome. He just said you detune the four lugs facing you. So I'll do that on a kick drum too, just like the top four lugs. Like I'll get it kind of even and then detune the top four lugs, and it'll get a big deep sound. And then like the main snare is kind of that's supposed to be versatile. So like I'll even like leave that almost even all the way around, probably medium, high tension. And then maybe in the beginning of a show, if we're playing a whole show, I'll detune one lug. And then there's a song, October 33, where I need an Al Jackson Jr. kind of sound. So then I'll detune the four, probably also detune a tom lug. I'm talking like mid-show changes. Then the aux snare is supposed to be kind of a Clyde Jabo vibe, so that's usually pretty cranked and pretty dry. And I think usually between the two of those, I can get, you know, a whole good realm of like hip-hop-ish snare drums. So that's the rationale there. And then usually I have a 13 and a 16. I'm still sorting like precise intervals that I like. Sometimes it comes out as a sixth and it sounds fine. Sometimes it's an octave and maybe the snare drum will meet it in the middle. Like I'm not gonna go full Kenny Schertz on that thing and take out a pitch pipe or nothing. Like it's just, it has to, if it feels good and it's making a good sound, then I'll just run with it. I mean, even yesterday we get to this rehearsal and they were clearly waiting on me at certain points. So I was like, I need to get this going. I'll get whatever functional sound I can get. I'll tweak it when no one's looking later. But I mean, the Roots EQs do help a lot. I started using those during a South by Southwest festival a couple years ago, because you'll just show up to the most awful backline kits that week. I'm not naming names, but I have certain PTSD against certain brands that seem to show up more often than not in Austin during Music Week. But it made my life easier, because that's like a 3-minute throw and go everywhere you are. So, and so much of my life ends up that way, where you don't have too much time to prep.
Mm-hmm. Do you get the floor tom like pretty much as low as it can go, or where do you start?
Like I'll start with about as low as you can go, and then maybe up, like almost not even an eighth of a turn around. Like, so firstly, the lugs are about as tight as you could get them, just by, finger tight. And then I'll go up a little from there. And if it starts to sound choke, I'll just back off. And there's usually a lot of stretching and punching and things like that. And then inevitably I end up, I feel like I spend more time on the bottom snare heads than the top snare heads, usually.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't want to make sweeping generalizations about backline companies, but it's like, sometimes you fly in and it's like, well, these are very nice drums, but these heads were put on by a keyboard player. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'll have to fix the things.
Is the bottom head usually like barely on or something?
Yeah. Or, the 4 lugs right around the snare mechanism are always either completely loose or mismatched with the rest of the drum. So, I mean, I could work fast enough on whatever kit you throw me at. It's just, it's not full on bane of my existence, but it does take some time, and I'm sure I make some nasty faces, some load-ins.
You said you travel with cymbals?
Yeah.
A whole set, or just the essentials?
Just a whole set. I'm not using all I take now is hats, a ride, and like 2 20-inch. I guess the left side is a 20-inch carob, so some people would call that a ride. Mm-hmm. I recently got a 20-inch K. What are they called? They were new to me at the time. Oh, Cluster Crash. Jeez.
Okay.
I don't know how I missed those for so long, but like I wanted something that was a little dirty but not full China dirty. So it's just got a little bit of grit to it. So that's good for the more explosive crashes. And then I switched. I have somewhere that the backline crew told me, like, you need 2 cymbals, 2 sets of cymbals. Like, ideally, I'm supposed to have 2 sets of everything for flyouts and whatnot. But so I got a set that is like slightly lighter and slightly smaller. Like, for the first year and a half I was with Zildjian, I had the 16-inch Avitas hat, and I got the 15-inch Caros instead. So just a lighter option all around. And then, like, if we're gonna go play a shed or something, then like the 22 Caro medium makes more sense than the 22 Caro regular. So like, even if it's only 400 grams, like it's just a different vibe for different rooms, and also physically lighter if I have to wear it on my back through airports for miles and miles. So,
right.
Weird random considerations.
So what, do you have 2 bags at home? A light bag and a heavy bag?
Yeah, I got the Zildjian hard case. Those are really, really dope. somewhere I have a mono bag that's usually loaded for local gigs at home.
Okay. What other things do you travel with? Any creature comforts or necessities for you?
Um, I've been big on the reflex pad since about when that came out. Uh, I've sort of gotten into a regular warm-up routine. It's more of an aerobic thing than it is trying to build or find chops. So if I didn't have that, and oh man, I don't. So I found this one random pair of sticks. My theory is they're like a signature of a pipe band drummer or something. They're not. They're either really stupid big drum set sticks or they're pipe band sticks. I think because I got them at a backline shop in London, and I sent Dave Phillips, the Euro DW Gretsch guy. I sent him a picture because he's kind of nerdy about these things, and nobody has any idea what they are.
Oh, weird.
They're Vic Firth. They're kind of big. They're sort of like the contour of the. Do you remember the Danish DeLucia marching stick? Those were stupid heavy. Anyway, that's like my warm up stick of choice that I will never ever find again. But
what is the routine?
I think I might have blogged about this. It starts with like a modified Stone Killer. So put the metronome on around 60, 62, 64. And you don't just do 4, 8, 16. I'll do 4, 6, 8, 12, 16 on a hand. And then once I get to 16, I start adding accents. So I'll do like downbeats, then displace until I get through, and then I'll just turn that into like a tap accent clave exercise. So I'll play different claves as a tap accent thing. And then let me think. After that, there's usually I'll do like 9s and 17s as singles. So single 9 and 17s, kind of like the hugga-dugga-burr that we used to do in drumline back in the day. Mm-hmm. Man, we haven't even talked about our past, Michael. Jeez.
That'll all be in the intro.
Yeah. But I'll do that from like lately. I'll get from like 88 to 100, and I bump it up a few clicks at a time. And then if I've got time, I'll do I still do a few random like drumline exercises that we used to play back in the day. Just what was that one? I think it's called. It was not a Curry Seymour exercise. I think it was a Marty Hurley Crossman exercise. DBL diddles. Still do that. That's good for inner beats on either hand, I find. And I'll just mess around with things like flams and flams, halves and patty flaws in random order, but with a click. So, and I've mostly used the regular tempo app for all of that. But that'll be like a half hour on an average day. Maybe if I'm really lucky, I'll get an hour. Mm-hmm.
Is that pretty much every day?
I try when I'm home and my son is taking precedence over my needs. Like, not every day, that's for sure, but usually it's part of my pre-show routine. And random non-click idea. We had an opener on most of our Europe run named Pachi Man, and he's like a dub guy. So the tempos I was usually starting my warm-up at were like dub tempos. So I made this random dub warm-up playlist. So like the time is there, but it's a little more nebulous, so you have to pick it out. So sometimes I'll pull that up instead of like an actual click, just to make me consider the feel and everything.
That's cool. I thought you were going to say you warm up on the side of the stage while he's playing.
No, I remember in like Manchester, I warmed up under the stage while he was playing, and that's where it's just the only quiet place I could find. Like, and honestly, I mean, the warm up I do is like, it's just to get the arms stretched out and like make sure I can go through all the motions I need to go through. It's also as much like a meditative kind of thing. Like our singer goes off and meditates by himself before shows. Like, this is kind of like my thing, getting me thinking about time and all of that.
Does that help with any kind of adrenaline rushes you might get on some of these bigger venues?
Yeah, it does. It does make me more conscious of it. So, like, if I have to steer things or hold things back, at least I've sort of thought about it already. So, I mean, I know, like, at this point in the current show, the tendency of certain parts to speed up or whatever. So I know where I need to hold things back or maybe allow things to push a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Do you have discussions about tempos? Is it like, let's bump this song up a bit, or is that just evolving?
Rarely. Like, once in a while I might get a note like, that one sounded just a little hot last night. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're probably right. I had espresso instead of Red Bull before the show. So,
does a note come from anyone in the band, or is it front of house? Who's monitoring?
Usually just Adrian Casada. He's the guitarist producer. So
yeah,
and once in a blue moon, Eric has had a tempo qualm, and it seems rare, honestly. I mean, mostly we all know how the show should sound, and I don't think we want to be robotic about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's supposed to be live music played by live people, and there's always room for push and pull.
Do you reference a click at the start, or is it all muscle memory at this point?
All muscle memory at this point. I mean, maybe, like, I foresee myself on the next album maybe triggering samples, but I have a hard time imagining this group being, like, dependent on Ableton or anything like that. I don't think that's the vibe, at least not yet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you guys have been touring for, seems like nonstop for a couple of years now, pretty much. Have the songs changed since the beginning? Have they evolved over time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll get as bored as any other band would get, you know, like, let's change this up, or let's try running this one right into this one. I mean, we're not so sick of the songs or anything that we're turning the hits into a medley yet.
Right.
I've heard of people doing that. It's like I don't want to. Like, I'm sick to death of the hit. We're gonna medley these suckers, and it'll be over in 3 minutes. No, I mean, we'll do little changes or add intros or segue things from one to the other. So,
do you have to decide on that ahead of time? Because I think when I saw you guys, there was a fair amount of light show involved. So do you have to, like, settle that up ahead of time, or is it all fly by the seat of your pants?
I mean, there's always a set list ahead of time. Once in a blue moon, we'll make an audible and switch something or cut something, maybe because of time or because of whatever. But our main lighting tech is so scary fast on picking up those changes. I have no idea how she does it. Like, it's not even like we say something in a talk back, like, oh, by the way, we're cutting this. Like, it's just, it goes, and she's like, oh, and she pushes some buttons, and it's all fixed. But it's nothing like who did I see? We saw Tame Impala a couple weeks back, and he had this Pink Floyd level giant laser donut hanging from the ceiling light show. And I was like, I don't know how much of that show was live or not. And I'm like, I will totally, like, I don't care if you're playing live because that light show was that amazing.
Right.
You know? We're not to that point or anything, but it's like I said, it's a few steps. It's kind of just like we could do this in any club anywhere, so it's not like we're relying on syncing up to films or anything crazy like that yet.
Right. How are your chops feeling? Do you feel like they've hit a stride, or are you currently seeking to improve anything?
I am sure there's a lot I need to improve. Mostly, I think about random things like just posture and I mean, I'm doing the single 9s and 17s because I'd like to work on like cleaning, like playing faster, cleaner, I guess. When I actually need it. I mean, this is not a band where I play a ton of fills, so it's not like thankfully, no one's asked me to play a solo yet. But I mean, I have other projects to get the chops out of my system. I don't know. Nothing. I'd like to play more consistently, like everyone would. Just be able to, like you try to tell a student to play the same groove for 3 minutes with no fills or something like that. Like my mind wanders annoyingly quick when I try to do that with myself. So just things like that. And like when I look back and study video, I'm like I take a look at my hands and like how I'm sitting. And actually that's a weird thing. I don't know where this came from. And I've rationalized it by, I found a Kenny Arnoff clinic video where he talks about how like his thumbs kind of fly off the stick. It's almost like as a self-preservation thing when he's playing all those backbeats with the left hand. Like his thumb is off the stick when he hits the backbeat, or at least as I'm remembering it right now. But I'm just kind of self-policing for not having this flying thumb. I don't know where it came from, although I watched a video of Fela's drummer, Tony Allen. He totally did it.
Interesting.
So I know I'm not the only one doing it. I have zero idea. I went to the same music school as you. I don't know where it came from. Like, I have like some memory of my first teacher kind of yelling at me about it. But like, I don't know if it's like my body, like trying to avoid any extra impact or whatever. But, yeah. And
I mean,
that's
if it's not hurting you, right? If you're getting the sound you want, then I wouldn't mess with it. That's usually my barometer. If it's not hurting myself and I'm getting the sound I want, leave it.
Yeah, I started, like, I don't know if I caught it on a television appearance or just a random video for a radio station or something, but I was like, what is that? And where did I pick that up? And, should I be addressing it? I'm like, when I grumble about it, I feel like like my dad would used to grumble about his golf swing. Like, keep your head down, like that kind of stuff. It's like turning into my old man with his golf game. But I don't think it hurts the sound. I mean, if anything, I'm like just trying to let the stick do all the work, as much of the work for me. So like, and just creating the right sounds for whatever I'm doing. But I mean, those are the kind of things I police myself on. I'm not in this moment like studying out of any books or anything. Like once in a blue moon, I'll pull up a page in Future Sounds and just try to get my head back around that. But I mean, my chops are working for the gig I have, as long as I have a good warm up. So,
what are you listening to? What is your travel playlist of choice?
oh boy, a lot of dub. Who's this dude I was checking out? So I think it's a new release of. I don't listen to Zappa but 2-3 times a year, but they put out a whole box set of the Mothers from 1971. So that's like the Ainsley period. You know, everybody talks about Vinny and Terry, but Ainsley was a freaking bad dude.
Yeah. That early stuff is more rock and roll too. I enjoy it better personally.
Yeah, but there's like I swear I think it's like a version of Peaches from like a Pennsylvania State Fair show or something. And he's playing a lot more than he plays on any other version. I was like, that's kind of odd. And fun fact about him, or is the urban legend, is there was a coin toss between him and Mitch Mitchell to be in Jimi Hendrix Experience. So,
wow.
If he had that gig, I don't know what I'll be talking about him anyway. I still love that guy. I was real happy to find that. There was a nutty new Brad Meldau record I was checking out. I don't even know who plays drums on that. I think it's like a Rush tribute. I am probably really wrong. We were checking out, his name is Romare. I don't know what to call him. Yeah, and I mean, lots of hip hop all the time, especially when I'm out with this crew. That's it's like soul music. It's a little psychedelic, and it's through. So I got to think more like RZA or DJ Premier. I think one of my early instructions was think more Pete rock than hard rock. So
nice.
Kind of my edict, and I'm always revisiting that. And I'm that obnoxious person who has to research every sample I hear and figure out what's coming from where. Anyway, I mean, and my son listens to tons of Stevie Wonder, so all of that stuff all the time, and tons of Drum Candy podcasts.
Who are your top 3 influences at the moment?
At the moment.
Yeah, we're not going all time, but like if you had to sum it up the past few years, who would you say has shaped your sound the most?
Man, this answer will change by the afternoon. This answer will change 3 times by Thursday. Definitely Tony Allen. I still lead an Afrobeat band in Austin. We're not super busy at the moment, but obviously that's a big thing. I really like. I think when I first got called for this band, I was in kind of a soul rabbit hole, like really checking out different rhythm sections and things. I think Willie Hall gets slept on a lot. You would know him from like the Blues Brothers original movie. That was him, but he was also he was in the Bar K's, and he was on a lot of the big Isaac Hayes records. I think he has like a heavier footed approach, like than a lot of the Memphis drummers.
Okay.
It's weird. I just finished I read the Howard Grimes book a couple months ago, and he didn't really get mentioned in there. But if you check out like his records on there's a Bar K's record called Black Rock, like about that period. There's just it's like a pocket, but it's a heavy pocket. Like it's really worth checking out, and it makes a lot of sense for this band. So I definitely borrow his playbook a good deal. Number 3. Oh man. I mean, all time, like, Cobham was a big deal. My first teacher was a big fusion nerd, so that got passed along. And just like Zappa, I can't listen to him that often, so I don't know. But I mean, what I like is finding records where I'm like, that's him, but he's only playing like a hi-hat, kick, and snare drum. Like,
oh man, I don't know many of those. You got to hit me with some.
But he did a lot of sessions outside of what we know him for. So there's like, he's on the Donny Hathaway Roberta Flack record. I'm blanking on exactly which song, but he is not. He probably only has 2 toms and is not playing a million notes, and it's just him. When he's doing the quiet, I should make a playlist of just Cobham just grooving and not playing the blurt thing. It exists. I mean, he plays a lot like that. He was on a lot of those CTI records. I have a weird thing for the CTI records. Anyway, there I go, outing myself as an early fusion person.
Tell me what you get out of Tony Allen. I feel like he's got some magic that is hard to comprehend.
Man, I was terrible about picking this up when like I started an Afrobeat band, but his touch is it's a very light. I think he uses played with a lot of fingers. It's a very light touch, and it just has this amazing way of percolating, and it's not super aggressive, but it's really controlling the whole thing. It's like there's folkloric influence in there. He was really into Blakey. He made a Blakey tribute record towards the end. But just his ability to really drive the band with like not expending a ton of energy is pretty amazing. And it just having it groove like a total freight train. But I think his touch is the biggest part. And then I was explaining to a student the other day, like his ability to break it down, like, you know, like soul drummers, funk drummers will break it down on the one. His was just as simple as like one shot on a snare drum, and all of a sudden everybody's like, we're back. Like, it's a masterclass. There's a record I heard last year that was kind of I'll have to give it another listen. I was really into it for a minute. He did something with an artist, Joan as a Policewoman. That's Joan Wasserman. She used to be in a band called the Dam Builders, and I believe dated Jeff Buckley towards the end of his life. But she collaborated with him. For a minute, I was telling people that was like the best post-Fela record I heard him on. And I don't know how much editing was involved, but like everything he does is on display there, especially his really creepy crawly slow grooves. Like, they're really worth examining, I think. Just as far as doing a lot with very little energy wise.
Did you Did you play along to those records when you first get into the sounds, or is it just through listening?
Lots of listening and lots of trying to emulate, and I don't know that I did a ton of transcription in the very beginning. I did some more later. And I mean, for the first 2 or 3 years that Hard Proof existed, I tried to stay really faithful to what I thought he was doing, or what the other. I mean, we didn't just play Nigerian music, so we would check it out, Ethiopian stuff, and I mean, probably a broken record on this, but just the amount of different styles and everything going on in African pop music, like it changes from town to town, and if you figure there's like 80 spoken languages in Nigeria or something, that's not an accurate number, but like there's an analog for how much pop music there is, like to how many spoken languages there are. It's endless if you start studying it. But specifically, I tried to stay real faithful to that for a couple of years, and then I went and saw Femi Kuti, and I was like, okay, his drummer is not, I don't know his drummer off the top of my head, but he's not playing really light touch, and he seemed like he had checked out as much classic Afrobeat as he had, say, Tribal Tech or something. So I'm like, right. You know, like, it's okay. I think I can let other things in during live shows, like maybe bordering on overplaying at some point, but I just realized I didn't need to stay 100% faithful to this 1975 template that Tony had made. But I mean, that's at the root of all of it. So long story short, yes, I did play along to the records.
What is your A-rig setup?
The A-rig is the Broadcasters, 22, 8x13. That's 14 by 22, 8 by 13, 16 by 16. I like the 6.5 by 14 aluminum. I have a 5 by 14 just chrome over brass, the classic one on the left side. That's kind of the main thing for this band. I just got the matching 7 by 14 snare, so I'm stoked to check that out.
Is that going to get worked into the rig?
I'm thinking I'll try it at least in some rooms. If I'm not crazy, every song that I played on the original record was a 7 by 14, but it was a pork pie. Is that the wood over brass? So it's a weird one. 16 plies, but the middle one is brass. So.
Oh, right. I remember those. I never played one.
If you find one and it looks like the original, grab it, because I don't. But the shells came from an English builder. I think it was Carrera, and they don't exist anymore. I should have kept the hickory one too, just because that was like the driest snare drum I've ever heard. It's like punching a baseball mitt, like that kind of dry. But I was like, I want a 7 by 14. I don't know why I didn't get a matching snare for this kit. A few times there was one specific backline kit in LA they sent out, and it had the matching snare. It was just a 6.5, and I was like, why did I not get this? This is perfect. Like, it's like hitting a tub of butter. So I got the 8 lug 7 by 14. I also have a 6.5 by 14, just regular bronze, which, you know, if we're outdoors, I think I got a coated vintage Emperor on it. it's good if you need a little more volume or a little more sensitivity.
Mm.
And I don't. They're making Gretsch is making some really crushing metal snares these days. I want all of them.
Nice. What is the heads on the toms and kick?
I'm mostly into vintage ambassadors on toms, which, if I'm not crazy, that's just like 1 mil extra from a regular ambassador, but it's double ply.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really used to the feel on those. You probably told me about the Renaissance Power Stroke on the kick drum. I'm really into the Renaissance Power Stroke on the kick drum. I like the fiber skin M patch in the middle, just for a little extra contact sound, but not like Kevlar, So it's just a little extra bit of.
I didn't know that was a thing. They have a calfskin one or a fiber skin one.
They do. That might have come with I like the fiber skin Power Stroke too. I think if you buy a fiber skin Power Stroke, it does come with it. But it's somewhere in the catalog. I promise it exists. I travel with a few of those just for rental kits, like if the kick head is warmed in, or if they give me like a clear Power Stroke 3 and that's too boingy or something, like I'll bust one out and leave it on the rental kit. But I find those helpful.
What sticks are you using?
Mostly the first Garibaldis.
Is that a big stick?
It's pretty long. It's like maybe 16 3/4. It's pushing 17 inches. I don't know where the thing with long sticks came from, but I kind of like them better. I also usually travel with the Harvey Masons, not the old school Harvey Masons, but the Chameleon, which have a smaller tip. Mm-hmm. Also longer, but maybe good if you want a more articulate ride sound. That's a different vibe. And I've also been checking out that new, I think they're called the American Jazz Series. I could be wrong. There's a few sizes of those I like, just for different cymbal sounds. And like, if I'm in the studio, I will totally, if not always, play like one size stick in one hand and one size stick in the other hand.
Oh, really?
Well, just sometimes one gets a better cymbal sound and one gets a better rim click, or the other way around, or the tip isn't right. I know you record a lot, so I know like you start examining the minutia of all of it. Different sounds for different tracks and such.
Do you do that live too, or you stick with the Garibaldis?
I'm pretty used to the Garibaldis live at this point.
Sweet. Last question, which might turn to a few questions. What was your first snare drum?
Oh, wow. I guess it came with. Okay, there's two answers to this. The first kit I got was a Remo PTS kit.
No way.
Well, okay. No, I mean, I had the Muppet kit. Everybody my age seems to have had the Muppet kit, which was technically a Noble and Cooley. They made a lot of toy drums. But I split a Remo PTS with my brother, and while those were lovely, I have a hard time calling them actual drums. So, because the heads clip on and you can't tune them, and I don't know. I didn't have a teacher yet, so no one was guiding me on that purchase. But
I mean, it makes sense. Hey, I don't have to tune them ever.
Right. I mean, it was. And I have friends who like worked in New York in the 80s, and they said they were great just because portability, like you could, you take the heads right off, you nest the kit, and it's easier to take on the subway and all that. But I can't actually call that my first kit because they weren't real drums.
Wait, that had a snare drum? That came with the snare?
It did. It had a matching snare drum, and once in a while I will see one for sale and debate it, but I'm like, nah, no. Like,
how did that work? Did it same thing? The head clipped onto a 4-inch?
The head just clipped on, and if you couldn't tension them, so you couldn't learn to tune them. So the first drums I got that I could actually tune were just those white Tama Rockstars.
Oh yes.
And they had the matching steel shell snare drum. I still have the snare drum that I got back. Some lawyer in your town has the rest of them. He was in.
Oh yeah.
He plays in like grindcore bands or something. Tattoo lawyer in Pittsburgh playing in grindcore bands. Has my them.
Nice. I remember those snare drums being pretty badass for what they were.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a 6x14 steel shell, and pretty loud. And I started playing drums to play in hardcore bands, so like, it was good for that, and eventually pretty good for funk. I should probably rehab it a little bit. I think I have an S hoop on it now, and mostly it sits on the shelf, but one of those will pop up for $80 on Craigslist here and there, and I just get it just to have the parts or something. And,
what was the first real snare that you got, quote unquote?
I think that Rockstar counts as that. When I initially did school band, they only told you to buy a practice pad, so I didn't get the Acrolite like everybody else seems to have done. But there was the Tama, and then I don't know where or what I branched out with after that. I know I had a Ludwig 3x13 piccolo for a long time, but I lost that in Katrina. I've debated. Those go for stupid amounts of money right now, so I don't know that I'll find anyone at a deal price. And they had those funny square Ludwig piccolo lugs.
Yep. Was it a metal shell or maple?
Yeah, it was a metal shell. It's like an LM. Oh, what is the number on that? I don't know. They're not super common. Hold on. I got to look this up on Reverb because this is going to drive me nuts.
Was it like a black finished version? Like a black finished steel or something? I'm thinking of the pearl.
No, it was just chrome.
Okay.
I don't know if that means it was like a wood alloy or what, but I don't know. And then probably thanks to your peer pressure, I just started collecting the things. Not as bad as you, but I do probably over 20.
When did you get your Pearl Masters kit?
That was like 99.
And that came with a matching snare, didn't it?
Yeah, I still have that matching snare.
Okay.
I sold the drums. It's funny, it's weird how we're all sort of suckered into marketing. Like, if you told me I needed to buy a 100% maple kit right now, I'd laugh at you.
Right.
But
that was the mid-90s.
That is what they were pushing at the time, and it's like, see, I can't even find this thing. Does it exist?
You got me.
Okay. I mean, it had this kind of lugs, but it was a metal shell. It has an LM400 number, but I can't remember which one.
Was it a black and white badge? What was it?
It was the blue and green badge.
Okay.
I know this still exists. They might even make it. Um, I don't know. That got a lot of use in the 90s before I got the Pearl kit. And then I grumbled a lot about that Pearl kit sort of fell apart. Like the finish just did not hold up. I remember it got real discolored on the outside seams. But the snare drum got ripped off at some point, but then I found it on Craigslist a couple of years later, like maybe even 5 years later. And I went over to the guy's house. It was like, I'm going to give you a modest reward, but you're giving me that snare drum back right now.
What's up with all the thievery happening in Texas with instruments? I feel like that's where everyone's getting robbed.
It can be pretty bad here. And that got even funnier, that particular, when that walked. That was an entire kit, like every bit of hardware. But the kick and toms were like jelly bean fives, probably some gold sparkle, some silver sparkle. But those popped up on eBay also, like 4 or 5 years later. Like I never stopped looking for them, obviously, because got a little obsessed. But they popped up on a seller in New Hampshire who I had bought fives parts from. And
interesting.
The guy straight up would not, like I had his real email, and I tried to get in touch with the guy, and I started talking to like drum shops around there. Like, so long story short, no, I didn't get those back, but there are 2 police reports on that drum set now. one in Austin and one in wherever he lives in New Hampshire. Like, I didn't quite get to the point of them sending to him his house, but it was like all that because I wanted the ride cymbal back. It was like,
what was it?
It was the 21s that was in special dry light, which is one of the better cymbals they've ever made. But that one was particularly perfect. I mean, I've since rebought that cymbal, obviously. But it's like, okay, where'd they go? And I found out like there's pawn shops in Austin that do what they're supposed to do, and there's really sketchy pawn shops. So, they're supposed to look up the serial number when they get it, but there's one chain of pawn shops that was not so beholden to the rules, apparently. But I now have everything insured for list price. So,
well done.
Lesson learned.
I should probably do the same. I'm not on the road very often anymore, but yeah, it crosses my mind every once in a while. A truck full of gear. They seem to be just getting ripped off more and more often these days. It's crazy.
Yeah, there was even I think last summer I had one go down at a. Apparently there are thieves going to storage units. So I had like 2 kids in a storage unit up the road, but it was one of those multi-level ones, and they had gone through the ceiling. The ceiling was not. It wasn't like corrugated metal like the rest of the thing. It was like a wire fencing. So like I could have just stepped on it and taken it out. In hindsight, obviously I should have taken a better look, but I posted on Craigslist like if anybody sees this tangerine glass glitter fives kit anywhere, let me know. But within 30 minutes, a backline rental guy I know was like, somebody 2 towns over is trying to sell me that kit. He gave me the skinny. Somehow I had them back by Monday. Like that happened. I found it Thursday. I had them back by Monday. That was nuts. No one ever gets that lucky.
What did you do? Hop in a car and go collect it? I mean, what in the world?
Well, it was a guy at a pawn shop. I guess that's Taylor, Texas. And I sent him a few texts and I was like, look, these are on a police report in Williamson County. I can come there and grab these, or I could bring a sheriff with me. What do you want to do? So nobody likes talking to Williamson County sheriffs. So he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, just take them. And that was that. No reward, no nothing. But
Well, dope. That's a crazy way to end the show. Thank you.
insure your instruments, all of them.
All right, now let's get to the shop talk section. This week we are checking out a super rare Gretsch Broadkaster kit that came in to Hawthorne Drum Shop basically untouched, so we didn't even bother messing with this kit at all. So this is an interesting conversation about, what happens when an original kit comes in, all the, is it truly original, like things we discovered as we go, because it's the first time Chris had really looked at this kit, all the original heads and all that kind of stuff. So super fun. Here's a vintage Gretsch Broadkaster kit.
Oh my, so we have fresh out of someone's attic, basement, garage, not a garage I hope, but who knows. This is an old Gretsch kit straight out of someone's house, right? This is how it arrived?
Yeah, so we had a gentleman who called us. We had a gentleman who called us, and he said, hey, my brother passed away years ago. We have this old Gretsch kit with some Zildjian K Istanbul cymbals, and we're looking to sell it. So I called him back. He brought it in, and this is it. He said it hasn't been played since 1958.
Wild.
Yeah. Apparently his brother was in. You want to guess what type of band he was in?
1958? I don't know. I mean, he broke the bottom hoop on the snare drum, so death metal?
Yeah, he was in a very unwell-known band that Meshuggah was highly influenced by in the 50s.
John Coltrane and the Death Pirates. A bebop band, a swing band, a dance band. I still don't understand how you break a bottom hoop, but we'll get there, I guess.
Polka band.
A polka band, of course, from Pittsburgh. I should have guessed
polka band. He told me the name. I can't remember, but his brother passed, and they've been sitting in their house forever. So we brought it. Obviously, we bought it. We figured we'd do something a little bit different with this segment instead of like showing you guys a kit that's like ready to go and demoing it. Like this is kind of how they arrive sometimes.
Right.
Like you said, the bottom hoop is cracked. And honestly, like they're die cast, and I've seen that before. For whatever reason, die casts just tend to crack easier.
You think that happened while it was in storage, or did he play it for a while with a big old chunk out of it?
I don't know, because it's cracked here, and it's cracked
massively cracked.
Yeah, very bad. That's not great. And he has old wiring here hold on the old Gretsch Responso snares with, which is great. And if you watched our last episode, you remember that sometimes this is the way that they would muffle drums back in the day.
Oh, it's got the same old thing.
Yeah.
So this has been played since 1958. No one did that in 1958.
And that's another thing is like some people will, especially if it's a single owner kit, oftentimes will be like, I've had this single owner kit, bought it this shop here. And I'd be like, well, what are these holes here? Well, I didn't do that. Okay. Well, what's this about? Well, I didn't do that. So I'm not saying people are lying, but sometimes like 1958, that's 70 years. Mm-hmm. But getting back to the kit, these are all stamped to 1953. You can't see the shells anymore, or the stamps here, but they are Broadkaster shells. Some of my favorite shells are the Broadkaster 3-ply.
Big old 3-ply. What's the middle of it? Is it gum?
Or are they maple, I think. So these are gumwood maple.
Okay.
They call them maple gum to be short. I actually don't know what the middle ply is. I should, but
it looks like it
here
must
we
be
are.
the gum. But here we are. So before we go any further,
Yeah.
like if I saw this for sale, I'd be like, oh my God, this is in terrible shape. There's no way I would see the value in this. So you saw like this is a rare special kit.
Yeah. I think what makes it special to me is, there's just not a lot of Broadkaster kits out there from the 50s. It's more common to see like a 60s 6-ply kit. But these preceded the 6-ply drums, if you didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Some other cool things is they all, other than the snare drum that has an old Weather King Remo, the old Crown logo.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a few of those.
That's my favorite Remo logo. And they all have, other than the snare drum, original heads. So the calf heads on the bass drum and the floor tom are in good shape. Unfortunately, the 13, again, polka can be pretty hard hitting.
I think the dude's son or nephew had a Black Sabbath cover band and wreaked havoc on this kid.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned kids because it's something that we hear a lot is, we want to pass this on to our kids, and, there was no interest. And so I wonder, he did mention some kids, if there was some kids playing on this kit.
Had to have been.
Yeah.
That's the bottom, right? That's the badge.
Yeah. So again, I mean, some people, if you don't know what you're doing, you just set it upside down. Internal tone controls there, you can see on that. This is the cool part. So I'm going to try to bring this into the view of the camera.
Oh my gosh.
So this came with the kit.
Selling your snake oil with your drums.
So, sometimes people will bring in drums and you take everything. So this is an old suitcase.
This is where the ghosts are hidden.
This is honestly sometimes the best part about getting an old kit. The Gretsch is cool. Let's see what's in. Let's see what goodies are in here.
Yeah, what is in here? Holy cow. Is that the original bass drum dampener? It's like a seat cushion.
I guess. So we're going to be listing this for $300 on our site.
What's it smell like?
These are the original snare drum head.
Oh, look at that. All the bandages and stuff.
Yeah, and it's metal hoop on there too, which is cool. That's the other 13. You can see the Gretsch stamp on there. The 14, that's a bag. That's another bag.
Wow.
Yeah, some old cowbells in here. I really haven't dug through this, to be honest. This is...
What is that?
Looks like it's a mount.
Dampener mount or...
So this would go...
That's where you put your cowbells on.
Yeah. This way, I guess.
Yeah, that is amazing. Wood block.
Again, they brought this in, and I just kind of dug through it real quick. This looks like an old hi-hat stand, parts of it.
I got to see that beater on that pedal.
This is
Oh, that's the cymbal arm?
Yep.
But it's not for a cymbal. What is that?
Well, I think what happened was we were looking at this. I think.
Oh, that's the tilter.
Yeah, I think part of this snapped off. So. Just gonna
Fascinating.
Got an old mallet.
Love it. That looks homemade.
Yeah, nothing great, but it's still kind of cool. Like some of these old timey.
That beater, though.
Yeah, beater. This is an old piece of metal.
Is that for the spur?
I don't know what that's for. Wood block. I'm really wishing that there's some cooler Oh wait, there was something in here. Where did that go? Okay, this isn't a drum thing, but it says Chicago Coin Machine.
Okay.
So 1725 Diversey Boulevard.
That's where he put his tip money in.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had a couple bags that were stamped with Ludwig back in the day where they put keys and stuff. But that's kind of cool. So yeah, a couple sticks in here. Nothing crazy. Oh, here's the
brushes. Oh, one of those. Oh my gosh.
So there was no spurs with the kit.
Murders. Those are weapons.
And this is one of the original spurs.
That sharp thing?
Yeah. I'm not going to take that, but he put rubber over the rubber.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, why is it so spiky on the other side?
Well, so you can use them so some people they take the head off and they would put this in. So that way it can't come out. So that's what happened is there's the other spur's not in there, and this is
some homemade.
A homemade
version.
Yeah.
That looks like a
not great.
A curtain rod, like a
literally
curtain
yeah.
rod, yeah.
Fast.
Those brushes, did they actually
where the brushes
open
are?
up? Those brass handled.
Oh, let me see here.
Weird.
Here.
Let's see if I can get tetanus here on the show. Nope, it does not work. Nope. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
You know what? They don't make them like they used to, Mike.
Holy, how did you ever? I mean, granted, 60 years, but what?
It's
going to go through my leg.
As a token of our friendship, I'm going to give that to you.
I think I could paint a picture with this.
Old drum key, unbranded. I feel like this segment is just going to be us digging through this pile here. Totally fine. Nothing else good. This big old marching stick.
Perfect for polka.
Yeah,
That is not from the 50s. That's the son or grandson from the 70s.
Oh, it's Ludwig.
That's from the 70s or early
Ludwig
80s.
Drum 2S. So, so sometimes like we'll get like goodie boxes, and sometimes there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and sometimes there's not. But
you could empty that one out and put your ventriloquist dummy in there. You could put your accordion in there.
You could do that, Mike. You could. You certainly could do that.
You could put your homemade beef jerky in there.
I know we're running out of time, but there are a couple of things I wanted to point out about this kit.
Yeah,
right?
let's get
So
back
it's got
to seriousness here.
the knob. This is kind of like a detail here. It's got like a different knob for the Pratt muffler. This is this rail here. He tapped this and put a screw in to make it stay, and like this is like gnarled.
Oh yeah.
Heck.
Again, what a
Bow tie style
design.
logs. Making this out.
So this is confusing though. This is the cymbal mount, but it's right on the dead center top.
Well, it's probably
of
for a
it.
splash.
Ah.
I think there's actually a splash mount in there.
Aha. That's what.
Sometimes
It
like there'll be another one over here.
is. Yeah. Okay.
That's like the traditional place for the. Here's the floor tom. I'm trying to show you.
Man, those floor tom leg mounts or something
Yeah,
else. huh?
so they're cool. That's the way they did them with broadcasters, and I think Steve Maxwell remade these.
I've seen them on some stuff.
Yeah, they're kind of cool. Stick chopper style hoops, which are great as well. I don't think that there are any vents on these either. Because Gretsch wouldn't, they wouldn't vent their drums. But Midnight Blue Pearl, it's a great wrap. They're kind of like Ludwig had Sky Blue Pearl, Slingerland had Light Blue Pearl, and theirs is Midnight. It's darker. It's got a bigger flake to it. It's a really cool finish.
It looks like it's in good shape. So what are you going to do to this kit?
Probably nothing. I mean, this is one of those kits that it has like, people will call it patina, but the way it looks is part of the quote unquote story of it. So it will kind of feel like weird to like clean it all. Does that make sense? Like clean it all up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you put new heads on the broken heads, or just leave it all?
So I'll probably put calves, because I have some other non-branded calf heads in the 13. The hoop sucks because I don't have a raw die-cast hoop for this.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just put like an old, regular die-cast hoop on the snare drum. But this is a floor show model. So a lot of the Gretsch drums from this period were 5x14, and those were the name band. But this is 6.5. So
That's pretty special. Get that thing
it's
back
cool,
to
man.
life.
I mean, it's got like the double lugs. I like double lugs better than center lugs. This is the original throw, and this arm would break off a lot on these, which is why they reproduce the microsensitive throw. Really cool kit, man. I was super happy to get it, and just one of kind of those like happy, kind of rare moments you get.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So something I learned is that Gretsch 3-ply shells didn't have re-rings. I assumed every 3-ply shell had re-rings.
The early ones did.
They did.
The rocket lugs. I'm trying to think which one. I've had some that had lugs in it. Also, early Gretsch 18-inch bass drums were made by Rogers, and they had rings in them.
Okay.
But I've had them, some of the early broadcasters, 40s with the rocket lugs have rings, but most
Okay.
didn't. And they're pretty thick shells. It's kind of interesting. Like, it's pretty close to the same thickness as a regular, like, 6-ply shell.
Yeah.
The plies are just thicker. And one thing reason why I like these shells better is that they take regular heads better. So you don't have to jam them on. They have a really nice tuning range. I haven't done a comparison with a modern broadcaster, but yeah.
Dope. What a special time capsule. This is I don't know what music I would want to play on this. It makes
Polka.
Polka. Death polka.
Hey, come see Mike Dawson in the Death Polkas.
That's all.
All right, that's it for this week's episode. If you enjoy this show, please head over to iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. If you don't mind writing a review, that also helps spread the word, gets the show ranking higher so more drummers can find it around the world. Until next week, go listen to some Black Pumas, go buy some vintage drums, and we'll see you soon.